All right, everybody, welcome back to the Aptitude Outdoors podcast. Thanks for tuning back in. Today, I'm diving into a personal philosophy I've developed for myself over the years on how to become a well-rounded outdoorsman slash outdoorswoman. So if that's something you want to become, listen up and let's get right into it. This is the Aptitude Outdoors podcast, where we interview conservationists, hunters, anglers, and outdoorsmen and women to bring you the greatest stories, information, and advice from the best in the world. So I started in a background of backpacking, just generally being into the outdoors. I didn't start as a hunter or, really as an angler. If you listen to the podcast for a while, I fished growing up and stuff, but I didn't take it very seriously. And the more I got into conservation, the more I got into, the environmental side of things, the more I started to work in those fields and then start doing video and started hunting and fishing more, kind of got into this world very heavily. And it's pretty much all I think about and do anymore. And I decided that, it would be in my best interest to figure out how I could become the best version of myself in that space, in the outdoors world. And that to me meant trying to be better at everything involved: hunting, fishing, conservation work, storytelling, all this stuff, because that's what I love. And this might help you, because we all want to be better at what we're doing, obviously, but we feel this pressure to become the world's best hunter because of social media and stuff, or the world catching 5-10 pound bass every time I go fishing. It's not a reality, but having a base level in all of this stuff across the board is important if you want to be well-rounded. I'm not the best duck hunter or deer hunter or, fly fisherman or traditional spin fisherman. But when I go out and do these things with people, I can hang, I have the concept, I've done it, I've researched it, and that's what's important. So let's dive into how I've developed this over the years and how you can do this as well. So first off, this part's obvious to me, might not be obvious to some people. You got to spend a lot of time outdoors. Whether you want to be a better hunter, fisherman, whatever, you have to put in the time to observe how the outdoors works, because you can't get it from a book. You can't get it from watching TV and documentaries. Go outside, sit, be quiet, watch how the outdoors unfolds in front of you. It's amazing what you see out there. I've seen so many cool animals and wildlife and just natural events that I just from being outside. You don't always have to be an intensive land user, pulling stuff out of the environment, eating it, collecting stuff. Sometimes it pays dividends to just go watch. If you want to learn how to hunt deer, go sit in the woods and watch deer. You can do it during the hunting season. You can do it off season, whatever. You just see what they do, and then you understand what they do. If you want to be a better birder, go watch birds. See how they act. It's amazing the stuff you can pick up. You just internalize it. So, number one, you got to be outside a lot. And that's hard to do, but you got to be out there and observe. That's very, very important. Number two, also important for me, supplemental reading and studying. I'm an avid note taker. I'm always writing notes. I can't read a book without taking notes. It's just ingrained into my being at this point. Buy books on it doesn't matter what they are. Go on Amazon and buy, or go to the library and rent or borrow. Get a Kindle, whatever it takes for you to get that material. Even audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks, but I still don't feel like I get the full experience because I'm easily distracted. So they can help, especially on airplanes and stuff where you're confined. I'm a proponent of real books or Kindle books or whatever that you have to physically look at and pay attention to and take notes on. But these books are going to help supplement that stuff that you don't have time to sit in the woods or whatever to learn. Read. It's not always supposed to be fun. It's learning. It can be very dry and boring material, but it just sticks in your brain. I don't know how to describe it. It just sits in there. And then the moment you need it, it just always comes back out. I can't describe it. So it doesn't have to be 3 hours of intensive reading and note taking every day. It could be 10 minutes, read 3 paragraphs, start wherever you're at. If you haven't read in a decade, get a book, read a paragraph at a time, jot down the important stuff that stands out to you. Easy. You don't have to be a detailed spreadsheet note taker. Just write down the stuff that is important to you. That has paid off for me in dividends. Just the dumbest little facts that I didn't know, I'll scribble them down. And when I'm out fishing or hunting, it just pops back into my brain. And I'm like, whoa, where did this come from? Oh yeah, this boring deer hunting or fishing book I read a year ago. So never underestimate that. Those two are super important. You have to put the time in outdoors, and you have to just do a little bit of research here and there. YouTube videos help with learning technical skills like how to tune your arrows, or how to tie on backing to a fly reel, or how to do a special knot for swim baits, or whatever it is. That stuff I get on YouTube. I study that stuff a lot. But YouTube is essentially anyone, including myself, telling you stuff. It's not always the greatest source, but for learning specific things, especially gear related things, I go to YouTube. So don't underestimate that as well.
Wake up early before the sun comes up. Then you drink a little coffee, fire the gator tail up, then you hit it on out where no man goes. Gator tail.
For both hunting and fishing techniques, part 3, I would say, of this is you gotta practice regularly of the stuff you're interested in, becoming a well-rounded outdoors person, we'll say. You have to get these foundational elements kind of set in stone. Always have to be hammering on the fundamentals. It's amazing. I went maybe a month and a half without fly fishing, and then I was just in Florida, which I talked about in my last episode. Didn't catch anything, but I kind of got I had to give myself a refresher in especially the double haul on a fly cast, getting that back up and going. And it's just, I know it's cyclical. It comes what's relevant in the season that you're hunting or fishing in. It all changes, but you got to keep up on that stuff. And it's always helpful to focus on the fundamentals. Remembering, practicing your bow in the off season. If you're shooting archery, shooting your gun, remain accurate, make sure things aren't skewed or got bumped and sights are all locked in still. All of that stuff is very important, especially, with hunting, the gear can just go awry. With fishing, it's like you break some line, you lose a lure, whatever, it's not the end of the world. But hunting, you wound an animal and maim it, and that's not always the greatest thing. So you got to get those basic skills. You got to keep working on them, and then you can get more advanced over time. But you just got to put the time into those things. It's a pain in the ass, but if you truly love it, again, it's just like the reading thing. What's 5 minutes a day to shoot your bow? The biggest part of the pain in the ass is taking it out of the case and getting all the stuff and putting it back away. I know, because I fight this battle every time I go to do it. But you just got to keep up on it and hammer on the fundamentals. That's going to give you a setup in the future. If you can cast your rod effectively at a base level, when it's time for someone to show you like, hey, you can double haul, or you can do these giant, insane, super long casts, you're going to be already in a good spot because you've already focused and mastered those fundamentals. That's super important. Those 3 are probably the most important. And then there's other things that you should, in general, learn. Aside from hunting and fishing, there's also the survival side of things. I'm not like a prepper or a survivalist or anything, but I do have a base level of survival skills. And that's just really your basic stuff of knowing when it's not safe to wear cotton on a rainy day, when it's going to be below freezing, and things of that nature. How to start a fire, just the carrying a base level first aid kit, which for me is ibuprofen, Band-Aids, antiseptic wipes and like a ace wrap because I sprain my ankle constantly. Just knowing the bare minimum to stay safe, especially if you're hunting on public land or something where people are doing wild shit that's out of your control. You definitely want to have a little bit of safety kit, even for hunting, like a wound kit or something to carry around with you. That stuff's pretty important, especially on public land or when you're out by yourself. And basic survival skills, how to start a fire. It's mind-blowing to me how many outdoorsmen and women I'm around that don't know the basics of starting a fire. Like, if you're gonna get trapped in a shit show situation, that's like one thing that you really should know how to do. Like, starting a fire is like the base level of survival. So I'm not saying you have to become Bear Grylls here, but you really should be comfortable in that area. I'm not saying you have to be a survival expert. Like, maybe bring the rain jacket so you have a little bit of something if you get wet to change into, or, you know, like to keep you a little more dry. You can always peel your clothes off and put on a rain jacket and stay mostly dry. Just little stuff like that, knowing the basics, basic first aid, that stuff also very important because shit happens out there, man. I've had hooks through the fingers. I've went to pull an arrow out of a target and jammed it through my shin and bled everywhere. Like, dumb stuff happens. You want to be prepared for that. One of the most important parts when it's all said and done with this is understanding how you can give back to the community of what you're doing, because good Lord, the number of people who argue that we don't need these conservation regulations anymore, and we've grown. I have one guy said something like, we've grown our forest back 50% from when the 70. Like, yeah, but that's still not even remotely close to where it was at a baseline. Like, we're still screwing stuff up globally, and especially, you know, across the planet with wildlife. Like, species are shrinking by the day and stuff. Like, you have to learn about wildlife conservation and do what you can. I know we're all busy. We're all got jobs. We all have families. Like, it's not an excuse. We should be giving back if we truly want to be well-rounded outdoorsmen, outdoorswomen. That's just something we have to be cognizant of. Join wildlife organizations, join environmental organizations. I frankly don't give a shit. There's all this back and forth, whatever. Do what's best for the whole everything around you. Like, yes, I want wildlife to thrive. I want to help populations. Been learning about wild sheep and conservation and all this stuff that I didn't know about before. And do what you can to help. Volunteer if you don't have any money. Join an organization. It's like, pick one that you align with well and join. And for it's $30 a year usually or something. So give that time, give that money. That's very much a huge part of it. Read about conservation. This is a good place where you can watch documentaries and YouTube videos and stuff about conservation. Learn about the North American model of conservation. There is so much misinformation out there about the North American model of conservation. Like, people think hunting clothing and stuff these purchases of this stuff goes towards, doesn't. It's only like guns and ammunition and archery stuff and fishing poles and lures and licenses. Like, educate yourself on, again, the bare minimum to become a good conservation and learn what you can do to help others get involved and get involved yourself. It's a huge part of it. Without that part, it's just self-gratification, essentially, which I guess there's nothing wrong with at the end of the day, but like, if you care about wildlife, you should be giving back. We're taking the resource. We should also be giving back to the resource. It's not all just take.
Hey, what's up, everyone? James Appleton here, co-founder of Absolute Aid. Welcome to the Seek to Do More program. This program will help you help yourself by developing the daily habits that will elevate your entire life. Over the next 30 days, you'll complete the doers list every single day. And the doers list includes 1, do something physical. 2, follow and stick to your diet of choice. 3, read a real book. 4, further your education on purpose. 5, dedicate time to your spiritual life. And 6, dedicate time to your hobbies. So if you're ready to take a structured, proven approach to build the daily habits that will allow you to get the most out of yourself, your time, and your life every single day, the Seek to Do More program is your blueprint. So make a choice, commit to yourself, sign up below, and let's get started.
A huge part for me also that I've learned is very important over the last probably 5 years, and it's becoming more important to me as I get older and do this more, is staying in shape. I don't mean you have to have a six-pack. You don't have to run, 100-mile marathons. That's like the big thing in the hunting world now. Got to be an ultra marathoner so you can walk a quarter mile to your stand and shoot a deer. But keeping your body in shape is never going to be a bad thing. The majority of the people I know are not in any semblance of shape, can't walk a few hundred yards. Take care of your body. It's all you got, man. What's the point of going out and getting all of this healthy, organic food you killed yourself that's never touched the grocery store shelves and all this shit people talk about, and then you let your body just go to shit? It's part of what, in my opinion, should be a base part of your day. You don't have to go and deadlift 500 pounds and, be able to run forever and do all this stuff. It's just maintain a regimen of staying in shape, walking with your family, maybe doing a couple of push-ups here and there, 20 a day, 100 sit-ups, something that you can manage should be a part of the daily routine, in my opinion. This is my little world that I've created for myself in my mind, and I'm sharing that with you. But I think that is a missing part for a lot of people. A lot of people already do a lot of this stuff. A lot of people are already practicing their weapons and doing this stuff. But staying in shape is the biggest pain in the ass because it's not easy. It's not 5 minutes a day of shooting your bow. It's a lot of work. It's not always the most fun, and eating healthy can be boring. And I'm no shining beacon of health here, but the more I do this stuff and I get out there and I walk a mile and I get winded or something, that's not cool. I should be able to do way more than that. My body's capable of a lot more. So keep that in mind. Also, with all this stuff combined, you're going to have a very good understanding of how wildlife works, a very good understanding of what you can do to better your position to be able to hunt and fish them better, and giving back to make those populations thrive, and then giving back to yourself. That's how I view exercise, is doing something for myself that's in my control. I love that. And I'm going to do that right after I'm done recording this podcast episode. It's just 5 days a week, no if, and, or but. I'm not holier than thou, but when I was in Florida on vacation, still exercised 5 days a week. It's just something you need to do, maintain that baseline. And with that being said, that is just kind of the steps that I give myself in my head to become a well-rounded outdoorsman. And this was built over many years. I didn't have a list I'm reading off in front of me for the podcast of things. It's just naturally what I did to become better. I started with the backpacking stuff. I put in my time in the outdoors. I started reading more about the outdoors to learn more about the outdoors. And then I started getting into hunting and fishing. I learned how to do that at a base level all across the board for all these wild and cool activities we do. I started writing about hunting, which led me to learning more about conservation and just these paths that I've followed inherently naturally. And then all of a sudden it got to this point where if I want to do this for the rest of my life, I got to stay in shape. This is a natural progression for me that happened over time, and hope it saves you time. If you can start doing this stuff, you're going to be in like Flynn, man. You can talk with the best of them. You can go out there with the best of them and at least have an understanding of what's going on. And then at the end, you can't be afraid to dive in. I was nervous the first time I went duck hunting because I looked like a jackass. I had no idea what I was doing. Ragtag, borrowed everything, barely knew how to shoot my shotgun. Learned it, practice it, keep practicing it. And now it's when I go out, it's fun. It's awesome. I love it. So just keep that in mind. I hope this is helping you. It's helped me substantially over the years. If it's better for you, write a checklist, right? I want to focus on observing wildlife. I'm going to go out 2 hours a week and just watch. I'm going to pick one book and I'm going to read 3 paragraphs a day or 1 chapter a day, and I'm going to take notes on it. Just start what's comfortable for you and it will grow over time. Now I'm reading 4 books at a time, which is dumb, but it just works for me. Read one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one before I go to bed, and I have like a book that I just read to keep notes of like personal stuff. So it'll grow over time with the working out stuff. You'll grow over time with hunting and fishing skills. You'll grow over time. It's a long process. Don't think of this as next week. Think of this as the next 40 years. This is like something you can do little steps every day for the long haul to be a well-rounded outdoorsman. So hope this works for you. It works for me. It's not going to work for everyone, but I would highly encourage you to give it a shot. And thank you for listening to the Aptitude Outdoors podcast. I will be back soon with more episodes for you here. Hey, thanks for listening to the Aptitude Outdoors podcast. If you're getting anything out of this, if you're learning something, if it's helped you in any way, go down in the link below and buy me a coffee. Throw me $1, throw me $2. We greatly appreciate it. Just using it to keep this ship afloat. So thank you very much.